Hello everyone, you are about to hear a brief summary of the movie Unbeatable. Enjoy watching. Eddie met his old friend Chen, a rich kid who received a huge inheritance after his father's death. Eddie himself is a modest guy who doesn't like to spend his father's money and recently traveled around the country. But upon returning to Beijing, he found out that his father went bankrupt and is now hiding from creditors. A young woman, Gwen, tired, came home after work and fell asleep right on the couch with a can of beer in her hand. Her little son was left unattended and drowned in the bathtub. Another character in the film, the taxi driver Chen Fai, lives right in the car. However, it was burned this night and Chen Fai himself was almost killed. The man owes the triad and is now forced to hide from the gangsters in Macau. In his youth, Fai was a professional boxer and even became the champion of Hong Kong. A friend convinces Chen Fai that mixed martial arts are much cooler than boxing. He offered the former boxer a job at the gym, especially since their old teacher recently passed away. Eddie found his drunk father in a bar and carried him home. As he was leaving, he noticed an advertisement for an MMA tournament. A buddy found Ching Fai a rental place, though he'll have to share it with a family of two. A girl named Dani met him at the door and told him about the rules. The man couldn't think of anything better than to steal the neighbor's refrigerator and use it as an air conditioner. Dani's mom, Gwen, it seems the woman never recovered after the death of her youngest child. Eddie had to forget about an easy life. Now he works hard every day on a construction site. For the first time, Chen Fai came to his new job. In the middle of the hall stood an octagons. More and more guys are getting interested in mixed martial arts. One of these fighters was Eddie. Before this, he had only practiced taekwondo for a year. He wants to learn everything as quickly as possible and participate in the championship. To understand what this naive guy was worth, the coach put him in the ring against his fighter. That fighter worked on Eddie like a punching bag, and in the end, made a throw and put the newcomer in a chokehold. Chen Fai was ordered to clean the ring, and he decided to give Eddie advice not to block kicks with his stomach. Gwen remembers her little son every day. After that tragic incident, she is very afraid of water, including rain, and at home, a real flood was waiting for her and her daughter. The leaky roof was not ready for such challenges. Chen Fai removed the board from the bathroom to pour out the water. This caused the woman to have a tantrum, and she attacked the neighbor with her fists. Chen Fai had to hide on the roof. Danny told him that 4 years ago their dad left them. Her mother started drinking every day, so she blames herself for her little brother's death. For some time, the woman even stayed in a psychiatric hospital, and Danny lived in a shelter. Chen Fai promised that he would no longer touch the bathtub. Chen Fai was assigned to conduct aerobics classes for women. However, he does it without enough fun and enthusiasm. Chen Fai remembered how he once lost in a rigged match. The teacher hated the guy, and then he was even arrested for fraud. This decision ruined his life. He met with Eddie again before the gym closed. The guy begs the champion to teach him boxing, but he refused. Eddie again had to carry his drunk father out of the bar on his back. The man started raging, smashing the car, and beating his son. He accuses Eddie of being a failure, having achieved nothing by the age of 30. Chen Fai went outside and punched the drunk in the stomach. They said not to disturb people's sleep, but then he helped to drag the drunk home. Eddie asked the boxer again to teach him to fight. Chen Fei agreed. However, they have only 3.5 months until the tournament begins. The morning started with a run. Then Eddie began to learn the theory and basics of boxing. Time. The workouts are very intense. Chen Fei is not known as a patient coach, but Eddie is ready to endure his scolding and dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, the man has become friends with little Danya and improved relations with her mother. Fai sees a young version of himself in Eddie. It's as if he got a second chance through this naive guy. Fai repaired the roof and even started enjoying aerobics classes. Eddie is obsessed with the idea of participating in the tournament. He doesn't stop even at work. The guy carries heavy loads while his father loses the last of his money in the casino. With each passing day, Eddie becomes stronger. He doesn't spare himself. He absolutely needs to achieve the set goal. But Eddie still doesn't know the main thing. Fighting in the cage. The boxer doesn't understand this at all. Chen Fai went to negotiate for the guy. Coach Rock set the conditions. If the former champion beats him in the ring, then he will teach Eddie ground fighting. The fight was fierce and intense. In the end, Chen delivered a powerful blow, and he and Rock both ended up on their backs. The coach acknowledged the opponent's victory and promised to train the guy. Chen Fai was reminded of an old injury he dislocated hand, but easily adjusted it back. The training became even more intense. Finally, Eddie learned how to effectively defend and attack on the ground and escape holds. The athlete pushes himself to complete exhaustion. He passes out from fatigue right in the middle of the octagon. He will have to practice techniques on Chen Fai. Do you like it? Well, yes. Then let's go. Go ahead. The winner of the tournament will receive $2,700,000. Who it will be revealed after 10 rounds. Comrades came to watch the first round fight. An experienced American fighter knocked out Edwin, the guy Rock trained. Each finalist at each stage can take the money, but the American decided to continue, and his next opponent became our hero. Chen Fei had to train Dana so that she could stand up to the fat classmate who was bothering her. The time has come for Eddie's first fight to win. He just needs to last 2 rounds and not get knocked out. The commentator noted that the newcomer moves like a boxer. But what boxers are definitely not used to is being kicked and hit in the face with elbows. Eddie's father is also watching the fight on television. American Mike first grabbed his opponent in one hold, and when they fell on the mats, he switched to another. Eddie was close to defeat as Mike climbed on top and started pounding him with both hands, but the bell saved the guy. Chen Fai advised to respond to every low kick with a punch. After missing a couple, the American became enraged and closed the distance. Throwing the opponent to the floor, he started pummeling him again, but Eddie managed to get to his feet. He got a cut. The fight was stopped, but after being examined by the doctor, Eddie was allowed to continue. A few seconds later, he fell again and Mike twisted his leg. Eddie just needed to hold out for 10 seconds. The gong sounded and Eddie was awarded the victory. Those are the rules of the tournament. Chen Fai appeared on television. The influential gangster recognized his debtor. The following evening, a gang of triad members broke into the apartment. Danny ran out of the apartment. The thug was about to chase her, but Gwen stopped him, then grabbed a knife and stabbed the attacker in the stomach. Suddenly, the woman screamed. Her daughter fell down the stairs and hit her head. Gwen herself was thrown into a holding cell, Chen Fai testified. For now, they were allowed to go home. All the attackers fled, but the police will now contact social services. The woman had a relapse. She started talking to herself again. The doctor said that Danny's life is not in danger. Chen Fai promised that as soon as the family's situation improves, he will move out immediately. To give the neighbor a ride to the hospital, Chen Fai confiscated a moped from one of his students. During the second fight, Eddie was beaten badly again. They even broke his nose. The coach had to set it right there in the ring. Chen Fai advised not to give the striker space. Eddie listened to him and started pushing onto the fighter like a tank. But the guy once again lacked experience and ended up in a submission hold. Today his father is watching him from the audience. Eddie is saved only by his incredible determination. In the end, he managed to seize the initiative and make his opponent surrender. Gwen had to undergo an evaluation to prove she was sane, but the woman failed the test, which means Danny will stay in the shelter. Gwen withdrew into herself and couldn't try again. However, Chen Fai found out that he can try to become the girl's guardian. Alas, the examination showed that Gwen needs to return to the hospital for treatment. For Danny's sake, you must pull yourself together. It turned out that Chen Fai, due to a criminal record, also cannot become Danny's guardian. However, social workers contacted her father. It is he who will raise the girl. Hearing this, Gwen lost control and grabbed the woman by the throat. Eddie is ready for the next fight. The guy admitted that he fights partly to prove to a loved one that he always... You can rise no matter how low you have fallen. Of course, referring to his father, the contender is especially skillful with his legs. Fairly quickly, Eddie was on his back. The opponent repeatedly throws him on the mats or easily escapes holds. Our hero again blocks too many strikes with his face. Meanwhile, Lee easily dodges Eddie's punches. He kicked the rookie and then put him in a submission hold. There were 10 seconds left in the round. Eddie injured again. Unfortunately, Chen Fai couldn't support him today. The man stayed in the hospital with Gwen most of the second round. The opponents spent on the mat, trying to break each other or at least choke. Our hero, however, didn't have enough strength. Lee broke his arm, but the guy saw his father in the hall and didn't want to give up. For Eddie, it all ended with a throw that resulted in his neck being broken. Dad arrived at the hospital. He begs his son to wake up and get back on his feet. Chen Fai also decided to participate in the tournament. The ball with his name was thrown in with the other contenders. Now he himself started training to exhaustion. His body is trying to knock some sense into him, but Fai doesn't listen. He wants to atone for past sins. Chen Fai trains both in the gym and on the street. The father spends all his time with Eddie and feeds him with a spoon. The winner of the first season and the absolute champion was the daring fighter Lee. He was immediately offered to participate in the second season. Lee agreed. The next contender was Chen Fai. The 48-year-old man continued to exhaust himself with training, sometimes forgetting about his injured shoulder. One day, Danny's father came to the gym. He doesn't want to leave his daughter in the orphanage, but the girl refuses to live with him. The man wants to correct his mistakes. However, Danny set conditions. She will move in with him if Chen Fai wins the upcoming fight. The former boxing champion got seriously buff. However, age is only good for wine, not for a boxer, joked the commentator. Eddie and his aerobics group are also watching Fai's fight. Chen Fai started with reconnaissance to assess the opponent's strength. Working on the body, the experienced fighter finished the attack with an uppercut and a side punch. He almost repeated the fate of his student, but will luck be on his side in the second round? In the second round, Lee decided to attempt the move, but during the throw, Chen Fai struck him on the pumpkin. Tranti podibutatazo nedide nezop. The young fighter repeatedly tries to catch his opponent in a submission hold. The veteran always managed to slip away. During another attempt, the blonde pinned Fai against the cage and twisted his arm. Suddenly, he used the dislocated shoulder to break free from the hold and deliver a powerful hook. He had only one working hand left, but Lee was so stunned that it was enough to knock out the reigning champion. The 48-year-old boxer defeated the young professional and avenged his student. Danny, as promised, agreed to live with her father. Fai won 2 more fights. Unlike his friend, he bet on himself each time, so now he can pay off the triad. Eddie recovered and is now ready to spar in the cage with his Sifu.